coach of Chelsea and that. Are you like involved in like scouting? So like, did they like show you like clips of the players that are coming on trial or stuff like that?
Yeah, so the way our process works, if we invite one of the young players who come and trial to my team, so if you're, 14, 15, whatever it is, and you come and trial to my team in particular, we don't look at any footage. You would probably have been screened and scouts would have, done a number of reports on the player before actually inviting him in and offering him a 6-week trial. And we go off what the scouts believe is a player that is suitable for the academy or has the potential to be an academy player, and then we'll assess them within the 6-week period.
And also, do you know in like releasing players, like, is that like do you and like the other coaches, are you and the other coaches involved in that? Is it like the person that's in charge of the entire club, like decides if they're in or if they're out?
Good question. So those decisions are made by a group of staff. So you might have the head of recruitment in, you might have the scout of the player, then you'll have naturally the age group coaches, and then you might have the other coaches who have seen that player develop over a number of years. So I coach the under 14s. So in that meeting we may, listen to the accounts of the players' previous 3 or 4 coaches, and then we'll come to a decision on what we feel is right for the player and what we feel is right for the club. Because sometimes you can keep a player and he's probably never going to make it, or he's never going to get the scholarship at the club. So then it might be best for you to say, you know what, for the benefit of the player, he should kind of go. And then of course we have to then try and not sell it to the parents, but we have to be honest and transparent with them. So yeah, the decision-making process is often made with a number of staff who have worked with a player, and not in isolation. It's just a single member of staff.
Do you believe in open trials?
Yes, and at our club we do open trials. And when I say open trials, it's not a free-for-all where anyone can just turn up.
The kids listening will be like, what?
Yeah, otherwise, as you can imagine, as Chelsea, we'll get 1,000 kids turn up. So a lot of our scouts, again, because we've got a good scouting base, good scouting network, they're looking at players and watching them, etc. They would, once they've shortlisted some of the ones that we feel, should come and attend the trial because they're at a good standard, our scouts will probably approach them and invite them in, and then they would attend the trial. So we might cap it at maybe 40 players, but we'd never just have an open trial, anyone can turn up.
Wow. Got any more questions, boys? We've got some really good questions here. Keep them up.
Do you know, as an academy coach, could don't want to explain it, but like, say because you're an academy coach and the team has like the first team coach, could you become the first team coach somehow? Like, how would that happen? Do you have to be like the top coach and like the highest year group and like be like the best, and then when the manager's gone, if they think you're good enough to just put you in, like what happens? Like, does the chairman come to me and go like, you're the coach now, or something like that? Like, what happens?
It's a good question. A coach's pathway differs. Every coach's pathway differs. As you can imagine, there are quite a number of coaches at different clubs, loads of different academy coaches, and there's only one first team job. So everyone can't get that job, and everyone can't get the youth team job, and everyone can't get the under 23s job. So it's biding your time, and this is why I say football coaching is all about patience. And as long as it might take you to get to a stage where you're not earning £15 a session, it takes just as long for you to get from being an academy coach to a first team coach. So it's not as simple as, the chairman sees you and says, right, we're getting rid of, Jose Mourinho and now you're in. I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't. There's always a screening process in terms of, is he the right fit? Is he the one to galvanise the players? Can he relate to the players? What experience has he got? Will he be able to handle all the other bits that come with you know, being the football coach, being the front of the club, being the face of the club, So loads of different components to take into consideration. But if you pray hard for me, you never know. I could do that. And then I'll sign you. So.
Yeah. I also got, I think, 2 more questions.
Go on.
Number 1, like, does the club choose what playing style you play? So, like, say Chelsea, the professional team plays possession-based. Does that mean that the academy has to play possession plays or
I like your questions.
stuff like that?
Very good.
So we tend not to entirely follow the style that the first team play, not because we don't like it. Naturally, the first team have an influence on how we play. So, you know, when Conte was in charge, Conte liked to play 3-5-2 at the back, 3-5-2 formation, played three at the back. When Mourinho first came to the club, he played in a 4-3-3 formation. Prior to that, a lot of English football was very 4-4-2. So naturally there is an influence, but we have what we call our principles of play, which look like the first team. So things like our shape playing up from the back, our shape playing through midfield, what we look like in attacking phases, and then it's the skill of the coach to try and bring it all together. So we'll have, you know, all our principles, and then the coach will have his skill sets, and it's up to the coach to adapt those principles. So the principles are the framework of how we play, and then it's up to the coach to play whatever formation that he would like to, as long as it's not stupid. It's not a silly
Have you
formation.
spoken to Frank Lampard? Like, has he like been in any of your training sessions or spoken to you?
Yeah, so at Chelsea, we have a really close bond as a group of staff. We do call ourselves a family, and we don't say that as a cliche. And there's, with Frank at the helm, it's been quite an integrated and transparent approach. And naturally, because we've got coaches over there that have come from the academy, so that helps. So we don't have the divide. So in a sense, yes, we have a good integrated approach, and Frank has spoken to the staff, and he's quite open with how he's been, which is really, really powerful. And for a lot of the young coaches, that's invaluable. To have someone like Frank regard you, or, you know, we're walking down a corridor, walking around a training ground, and, you know, there's high fives and handshakes, and people stop for conversations. Those things are really, really good.
Has it always been like that for you? As in, when you was working in Chelsea, like you mentioned, like Conte, Mourinho, was that environment always the Chelsea way, or is it now you've noticed it a lot more since Frank has come in? Because obviously he's gone, you know, he's a Chelsea boy, more or less.
Yeah, he's a Chelsea boy. I think it's the way with every academy. Every academy, your aim and your goal is to try and bridge the gap between the academy and the first team, which is really, really important, because it gives the players something to aspire towards. Yeah, you know, when the players don't feel it's too far away and it's within reach, then they're more inclined to work towards reaching that goal. So I think it's the intention for everyone, but at the same time, we have to remember that if you're the first team coach, you know you've got a job. You might only be in this job for 3 or 4 months. And you guys who discuss coaches, podcasts, and all the rest of it, like Mourinho's coming at Tottenham as an example, or whoever, it could be anyone. You got a job to do. Nigel Pearson's coming, or the best one is probably Duncan Ferguson. He's coming, he's got a job to do. So he's not thinking about, what's his name that he took off?
Oh, Keane.
He's not thinking about Moise Keane and how he feels. He's doing his job. So yes, Big Dunk is, you know, an Everton boy through and through, but sometimes I often think about how the first team coach feels and the pressure that he's under. And if it's so results driven, I don't care about the 17-year-old. I don't care about watching the 17s. I need to get the team over the line, otherwise I'm out of a job. I'm getting sacked.
When you look at like Lampard now,
so I get it, I understand.
When you look at Lampard now, and obviously like he's bringing through the youth, or, you know, like Callum Hudson-Odoi and things like that. To me, it seems he's looking at the youngsters. Is that, I say, like you're saying that the majority of managers or first team coaches, they don't have time, but is that something that makes him stand out or helps him stand out? The fact that he's given the likes of Tammy Abraham and these people? Like
Oh,
a chance,
undoubtedly.
you know?
Undoubtedly, I think with Frank, he's expressed extreme humility, and I'm sure you can see from his
Interviews
pre and
and
post match
everything.
interviews. And then naturally, you can see from his team selection.
Yeah.
And Chelsea still getting results.
Yeah.
Results are still being achieved. The players are playing. The fans are happy. There's an integrated approach. There's a stronger feel within the club. So yeah, playing those players is important. You know, seeing those young players, especially as academy coaches, that's awesome. It makes it all worth it.
Did you work? Yeah, literally about to ask that as well.
Yeah, so as you can imagine, I've been at Chelsea since 2012. So a large majority, I'm not claiming that I'm the reason they made it. You know, let that go on record. But no, you know, I have coached pretty much maybe all the boys in the first team apart from Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Because Ruben is slightly old. So when I came in 2008, I started with the under-11s. Tammy's age group's actually my first age group.
So
Yeah, Tammy and Fikaya, they were my first age group.
were they that good? Could you just, you know, like how you say you can see?
They were good players, and you can see that.
What made them? What was that thing that the je ne sais quoi, the dust that going?
Ça va?
What was it about them, like in terms of like I'm trying to speak for the youngsters as well. Something, a talent or a quality that they possessed at that age.
I think firstly they're talented. That's the most important. And then secondly, they were willing to work hard. They didn't take their opportunity for granted. And I was privileged to coach them at under 11s and under 13s. And they were talented. They worked their socks off, and they're good people as well. They're good kids who listened, kids who wanted to learn, and kids who never stopped working. And as I say, they were talented as well. So when you have that, that's a recipe for success in itself.
Let's say you were walking one day and then after you saw like a player of any age, and then after, is it a matter of fact that you will go to and talk to them that you like this player, you want him to come down, or would you get a scout to watch one of their matches?
Good question. I'd probably do the latter. So if I saw a player and if he was outstanding, then I believe that I'm in a position to make a sound enough judgment to say, look, let's get him in. However, there are still processes in place, and it's likely that I'll just get the scout rather than jump at the opportunity to bring him in. Probably get a scout to come and have a look, just to ensure that, you know, my decision-making process is right, we follow protocol, and then maybe invite the player in. If he was that good.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Do you know, for academy football, can you like buy players? So like, say you play for Arsenal, can like Tottenham buy you like for like £50 or something?
£50? Wow. All the clubs would be at it if it was £50.
No, because like you're young, so you don't know. I don't know how much.
Yeah. So players can move to other clubs, but you have to pay a compensation. So it's almost like a development compensation that you would pay for a player. So often when players are at the point where they're being offered or extended registration, if, you know, the club and the player decide, you know, maybe this isn't quite right, but the club want to keep the player, it's at the club's discretion if they want to let the player go. But they often come to an agreement, and, you know, if the player wants to move on, more often than not, the club won't stand in their way. But there is often a compensation package that will be due. But whilst the child is in his registration period, so he's at the club and he's in his first season, as an example, in his first season, whatever it is, and they're not at the point of renewing registration, again, it's dependent on the agreement between the player's family and the club and doing what's right by the player.
Do you think it's better to start at like a lower academy then go and work your way up? Like, what I mean by that is like start your way off at like Barnet and then work your way up to like United, Arsenal, those type of teams?
If you've got the opportunity to go to a top academy, I would say you take it, because you will benefit from the coaching at an earlier stage in your development. But if you're at a Barnet, as an example, there's no reason why you still can't be a footballer. And it'll be good to actually look at the stats of players who play in the top leagues, how many of them came from top academies and how many of them actually came from, you know, the Cat 3 or Cat 2, Cat 3 clubs, and even School of Excellences. So there's different pathways in football. Like we had the chat about non-league football, you can still make it as a professional. And if you're at Barnet, 110% you can make it as a professional. You know, and it depends on how good you are and how determined and focused you are. That determines the level that you may potentially play at. Of course, there's, you know, a lot of variables, but you can still make it to the Premier League if you're playing at Barnet, 110%.
You see,
Of course you can.
That's some really good questions, boys. Honestly, in terms of, I wanted to go back to your academy in terms of, you know, the boys that you have now. And the era that we're living in now, you know, in terms of social media, you know, Snapchat, etc., etc. What is your message to your players? Because when we was coming up, we didn't have those kind of distractions, or it wasn't that accessible. Do you know what I mean? So, what do you talk to them about it? Does the club talk to them about it in terms of the do's and don'ts, the must and must nots?
Players are well educated now, and we have a really good life skills and social development program where we discuss a lot of these issues, or challenges rather, and you try and equip the boys with, you know, every tool necessary to make it. You educate them, and then it's up to them to make their own decisions. We can't hold their hand. We can only educate. And once you've done that piece, I think it's down to them and down to the parents to then, you know, guide their son in a direction that is right and beneficial for his development. So we try and be honest with players and parents, and then we also try and make sure that we educate them.
Okay. Go on, Malcolm.
Do you know how, like, do you know to become a professional coach? Like, do you know how to do that? Like,
how to become a professional coach?
Yeah.
So as I said, you got to get your coaching qualification. So your level 1, your level 2, your UEFA B, your UEFA A, and then there are a few other FA coaches in between that help you to shape your understanding of child development from a psychological perspective, and also to almost give you a well-rounded understanding of the other side of football, which is the physical development. So everyone focuses on just the football, just the technical, but there are other elements to it as well. So once you complete these badges or these qualifications, you're kind of on the right pathway, but you need to get started. And then, as I said earlier, you need to ensure that once you do get started, you're sure that this is your goal. You're sure that this is what I want to do, because there will come times when you're not earning a lot of money or opportunities are very thin or very short. You have to be willing to suck it up and get through it.
So now we've come to the point where we're coming to the end of the show, unfortunately, but you know what? It's been very, very insightful. Yeah. Go. I was going to ask him a question still. Yeah. I was going to say that. I was going to ask him a question. I was just saying, now you just come on to becoming a professional coach. What is your end goal now? I know you said that you were saying throughout your journey, you've given yourself targets, 2-year targets, you've broken it down. What is your ultimate goal for you?
I want to work in a first team environment. I believe I'm skilled enough to do so. So I guess that's my goal. My goal is to be in that first team environment, to coach a first team, and then see where it takes me. Long term, I want to do a lot of work in Nigeria. I want to open my own academy there. And actually, those are my roots. So I want to give back, and I want to support development in Nigeria. And I do a little bit when I go over there now. So the little things like taking boots, shin pads, all the rest of it. I've got a couple of guys over there that I work with, and it's really powerful when you see those kids and they're so receptive to a lot of the stuff that I take over. And then I also did a program last year with Lagos FA, so like a coach development program. Okay. So we had about 15 or 16 of the local coaches, and I put on a couple of sessions for them, and then I gave them tasks, and they put on sessions, and we assessed and analysed each session, almost like an FA course. and that was different.
Great,
That was different. Again, you talk about facilities, you're talking about, you know, language barrier, you're talking about tactical understanding. Some get it, some don't. And they look at me, this English boy. So, you know, all that stuff you take into consideration. But I loved it because I'm given to people who have nothing.
They have nothing.
And that stuff is probably more powerful than working with some of the boys and people over here who have everything, because you're really adding value. So here you might think, you know, we're doing a good job, but over there you're giving them a life-changing experience.
And they're grateful, and it's something they'll never ever forget.
So I want to work in a first team environment, and I definitely want to continue the work that I do, not just Nigeria, but if I can expand in Africa, then I would love to. Anything to make an impact and to change lives.
Sick.
That's what I'm about.
That's it.
Let's say your player. Let's say like a player was over 16 in Nigeria. Let's say a player was over 16 in like Nigeria. Are you most likely, and you've seen that he's good, and you're trying to like progress with him? Are you most likely going to bring him to London?
It is quite complex to sign African players at that age because you need things like work permits. So I would love to in an ideal world, but it is quite complex. So I guess it's if you see a talented boy and you can give him a life-changing opportunity to come to England, then of course I would be silly not to try and support and help that player. But if he could go to another country to go and play football, then naturally, of course, I would love to try and help wherever I could.
You're trying to catch a flight to Nigeria quickly. If there was one academy you could go to in the world and learn for a day, what club would that be? What academy would it be?
Why are you whispering?
No. Well, not obviously. I know you're tired. You're tired with Chelsea and everything. Your work for Chelsea, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of as learning as a coach, getting to your goal. Like, if you could spend a day at an academy.
We have got, and I'm being honest, our academy is second to none. Second to none in a sense of how well we develop players, our work ethic as a group of staff, and the proof is in the players that we've brought through. But of course, I'd want to have a look at Barcelona, and then there are a number of other clubs who have really good programs and who develop players. You know, Ajax are powerful. So Ajax being one, Barcelona being one. When we've played teams that are abroad, Borussia Dortmund are really good.
Nice.
Anderlecht, another really good club. So I'd want to visit probably any of those if I'm honest. Yeah. And there's definitely a few more academies that we've played against that are really good. PSG are also good. I won't say they're as good as the ones that I've mentioned. But in terms of style of play, those four clubs that we've played against, Real Madrid had a really good youth team as well. Porto, another one, really good. So I've played against some incredible academies, and I would love to visit any of those.
Okay.
Just before we close, what advice would you give the teenagers that are coming up about football? How serious do they need to take football? What kind of decisions do they make? And do you think that clubs should hire mentors?
Okay, I'll start with the last one. So my official title, I work full-time at Chelsea, and I am the lead coach for the under-14s, and I work in the player care department, so assistant player care or player care assistant, sorry. And that player care assistant role is pretty much a mentor position, where I support the players off the pitch. We look after all the full-time players. There's 3 of us in our department. So all the players that live away from home, naturally, we're partly responsible for in terms of supporting them. We're their go-to people. So if a player is struggling, needs a chat, needs support, etc., we are that person. And a lot of clubs are doing that now. Or a lot of clubs, I think it's it's a requirement now for all the Cat 1 clubs, and Cat 2 and Cat 3 clubs are starting to take on that, take on those roles. That sometimes looks a bit different in each club. Might not be called player care, could be player liaison, player support officer, whatever it is. So that role is at a lot of clubs. And if you look online, you might find some of those roles. But it's probably titled player care. So have a look at it. Advice: be honest with yourself. Are you a good footballer? I think that's paramount. But then also, there are different roles in football. You don't have to play football.
Yeah.
You can coach football. You can become a strength and conditioner, which is really sought after, which people don't probably realise. You can be a physio. You can be a movement coach. You could be a football analyst. You can work in recruitment, and there are different areas of recruitment. So sometimes, because you have a passion and a love for the game, you don't have to play the game to be involved in it. There are loads of different roles, opportunities, and that's what people probably don't know enough about. My brother Toby he's working on a project of he's running an organisation called Football Everything, and he's trying to have a look at or explore the different opportunities in football. So when people ask the question, can I make it? How do I make it? Sometimes you're not gonna make it, and that's okay. But there are other areas that you can explore, so that you haven't made it onto the field of play, but you support the players on the field of play, and you're still fulfilling your ambition. And that's probably what people aren't aware of.
That's powerful.
So are you good enough? And if you're not, that's fine. You just need to find another area that you can exploit and capitalize on. And then if you are good enough, you have to ensure that you've got the right mindset, because these are life skills. You have to have the right mindset in anything that you want to do. You have to have the right ethic, again, with anything that you want to do, and you have to be willing to make sacrifices in order to get to where you want to be.
Listen, that's not just for the two boys here, but also anyone that's listening. Do you know what I mean?
But these are life skills for me. This could be if you wanted to be an investment banker. Do you have the skill sets to do so? And if you do, you're gonna have to make the same sacrifices. You have to have the mindset, and you have to be willing to do what others aren't, to get to where you need to be. So these are all transferable skills, and those are the things that I learned whilst being at university, playing football, and now I'm coaching. I've just transferred all the skills and values that I've had into my football environment, because I have a skill and a passion for football and developing people and working with people.
How important is it to have the right attitude just in football, so these young ones can know? Because when I try to tell them that, especially for someone like me who didn't necessarily have the right attitude in football, just that emphasizing how much it is to have the right attitude in football. If you're going to go on trial and stuff like that, how important it is to conduct yourself as a newbie or just trying to work your way up.
Ignorance and pride is expensive. It's expensive because the moment that people tell you you're not good enough, or people push you to the side, that hurts. And often you have your guard up, and you have to ensure that you approach every opportunity with humility. And when people give you information, of course there are some people who talk rubbish. Like you're gonna get that. But then there are those who have played the game, and even if they haven't played the game, sometimes they can see things that you can't. So it's important to listen to people's opinions and listen to their observations. I'm not saying you always have to act on what you've heard, but it's important to at least express the humility to listen to it. And if people are right, more often than not, you will know they're right because you're convicted in your heart. But you put up this guard anyway. And as I say, these are life skills. When you're told something that you don't really want to hear, but it's true, straight away your guard comes up. But at that point, you have to say to yourself, take a breather, relax, and try to listen. Don't harden your heart. And then hopefully you can find it in yourself to almost act on maybe what that person has said.
Wow. That's a big answer. Well, yeah, I guess this is the end of the podcast. I do have to really, really thank Hassan for coming to the show. it wasn't just from a coaching perspective. You gave us like a lot of life skills, a lot of life tips and gems, not just for the young people, for even for myself, and I'm sure the other gentlemen in the room as well. So yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, no problem, pleasure. Enjoyed it. Thank you guys.
Honestly, very inspirational. Yeah, this Kwame's obviously. I got Hassan with me, Malachi, Seyi, everyone in the building. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. This is the Backpage. Make sure you follow us and all of that stuff.